The sky above Seoul turned dark at 3 in the afternoon. Not with clouds, but with shadows cast by ships so massive they blocked out the sun. President Dae-hyun stood at the window of the emergency command center, watching as panic spread through the streets below. Cars crashed into each other. People ran in every direction. Sirens wailed across the city. How many? He asked without turning around. Admiral Ji-won studied the holographic display floating above the conference table. Her face was calm, but her hands trembled slightly. 300 warships. Each one is the size of a small moon. They appeared at the edge of our solar system 12 hours ago. They're moving toward Earth. Dae-hyun closed his eyes. He had known this day might come. 20 years of preparation, 20 years of secrets, and now the moment had arrived. But he needed to appear shocked. Everyone in this room needed to believe Earth was helpless. Can we fight them? Asked Somin, the chief diplomat. Her voice was steady, but fear showed in her eyes. Ji-won shook her head. Our weapons are nothing compared to theirs. They have shields that can absorb nuclear explosions. Their energy weapons can cut through our best armor like paper. If we fight, we lose. If we fight, everyone dies. Hyun-woo, the chief scientist, pulled up images on his tablet. These are the Vren Dominion. They've conquered 47 different species across the galaxy. They don't negotiate. They don't compromise. They arrive, they demand surrender, and if you refuse, they destroy your entire civilization. The holographic display shifted, showing recordings of dead worlds. Planets reduced to ash and rubble. Cities melted into glass. Forests burned to nothing. 17 different civilizations all extinct. All because they said no to the Vren. There has to be something we can do, Somin said. We can talk to them. Explain that we're peaceful. Offer them resources, trade agreements, anything. They don't want trade, Hyun-woo replied quietly. They want slaves. Workers to mine their asteroids, build their ships, fight their wars. If we surrender, humanity becomes property of the Vren Dominion. We'll spend generations in chains. A communication officer burst into the room. Mr. President, we're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast to every device on Earth, every phone, every computer, every screen. Show us, Dae-hyun ordered. The hologram changed. A figure appeared, tall and covered in dark armor that seemed to absorb light. Its face was hidden behind a helmet, but its voice was deep and cold. I am High Commander Tavik of the Vren Dominion. You are humans of the planet called Earth. We have claimed your solar system. You have 72 hours to surrender unconditionally. Send your leaders to our flagship. They will sign documents transferring all authority to the Dominion. Your people will serve us. Your resources will belong to us. Your future is ours to decide. The figure paused. Behind him, images appeared. Dead worlds. Burning cities. People in chains. These species refused our generous offer. They chose pride over survival. Their civilizations are now extinct. Their planets are empty. Choose wisely, humans. You have 72 hours. If you refuse, we will demonstrate the same mercy we showed them. We will erase you from existence. The transmission ended. Silence filled the command center. 72 hours, someone whispered. 3 days to decide the fate of humanity. Dae-hyun turned from the window. His face was hard, showing no emotion. Begin emergency protocols. Evacuate coastal cities. Move people to shelters. Contact our bases on Mars and in the asteroid belt. Tell them to prepare for attack. What will we tell the Vren? Someone asked. We need to respond. Maybe if we open negotiations we can buy more time. No, Dae-hyun said firmly. We send them nothing. Everyone in the room stared at him. Sir? Ji-won said carefully. They're expecting a response. If we stay silent, they'll think we're preparing to fight. They'll attack immediately. Good, Dae-hyun replied. Let them think whatever they want. We answer with silence. But Mr. President, someone protested, silence means death. We need to communicate. We need to show them we're willing to talk. Dae-hyun walked to the holographic display. He touched a control and the image changed. Now it showed the entire solar system. Small dots marked human ships and stations. There were hundreds of them, scattered across millions of kilometers. How long have we been preparing, Hyun-woo? Dae-hyun asked. The scientist hesitated. 20 years, sir. And what did we find beyond Pluto? Sir, that's classified. Most people in this room don't have clearance. Tell them, Dae-hyun ordered. The time for secrets is over. Hyun-woo took a deep breath. 20 years ago, we discovered an alien spacecraft drifting in deep space. It was ancient, millions of years old. The species that built it called themselves wayfarers. They're extinct now, but they left behind their technology. And they left warnings. Warnings about what? Soman asked. About the Vren, Hyunwoo continued. The Wayfarers knew about them. Studied them. The database in their ship contained detailed information about Vren tactics, weapons, weaknesses. Everything we needed to know. Ji-won's eyes widened. You've been preparing for this. All this time, Daehyun nodded. For 20 years we've been building in secret. The mining operations in the asteroid belt were covers. We weren't mining minerals. We were building weapons platforms. The Mars colonies weren't just settlements. They were manufacturing facilities. Every cargo ship, every freighter, every civilian vessel has been modified with hidden weapons systems. That's impossible, Soman said. I would have known. The government would have known. Only a few people knew the truth, Daehyun replied. Security was absolute. If word leaked, if the Vren learned we were preparing, they would have attacked before we were ready. Now we are ready. Now we can fight. Fight with what? Ji-won demanded. You're talking about technology centuries ahead of what we have. Even if we've been building weapons, they're still human weapons. The Vren have conquered dozens of civilizations more advanced than us. Hyunwoo pulled up new images. Weapons unlike anything seen before, ships with strange designs, technology that seemed impossible. We didn't build human weapons, he said quietly. We built Wayfarer weapons. We reverse-engineered their technology. It took 20 years, thousands of scientists, and more resources than most nations spend in a century. But we did it. We have quantum drives that can teleport ships across space. We have directed energy weapons that ignore shields. We have platforms that can crack moons in half. The room fell silent again. Everyone stared at the images, unable to believe what they were seeing. The asteroid belt, Ji-won said slowly. You turned it into a trap. The largest trap in human history, Daehyun confirmed. The Vren will enter thinking it's empty space filled with rocks. They don't know those rocks are weapons. They don't know our ships are waiting, cloaked by quantum technology. They think we're helpless primitives. They're wrong. And if we fail? Someone asked. If your secret weapons don't work? If the Vren are stronger than you think? Daehyun met her eyes. Then humanity dies fighting instead of living in chains. I'd rather we go extinct standing tall than survive on our knees. You've gambled everything, Soman said. 8 billion lives on a plan that might not work. I've gambled everything on humanity, Daehyun replied. On our ability to learn, to adapt, to overcome. The Vren sent us a warning. They expected us to beg, to plead, to surrender. Instead, we answered with silence. Let that silence speak for us. Let it say what words cannot. We are not prey. We are not slaves. We are human, and we will not kneel. Outside the window, the shadows of Vren warships continued to darken the sky. The countdown had begun. 72 hours until the deadline. 72 hours until humanity's answer would be written not in words but in fire and fury across the stars. The Vren expected fear. They expected desperation. They expected surrender. They were about to learn that humanity had different plans. High Commander Tavik stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small blue planet grow larger on his screens. Earth looked peaceful from space. White clouds drifted over green continents and blue oceans. It reminded him of dozens of other worlds he had conquered. They all looked beautiful before the bombardment began. Status report, he commanded. His second officer, War Mistress Deline, studied her displays. The humans have not responded to our ultimatum. 48 hours have passed. 24 hours remain. Our intelligence shows they are evacuating their cities and moving people underground. Standard panic response for a primitive species. Tavik nodded. He had seen this pattern before. First came denial, then panic, then desperate pleas for mercy. The humans were still in the panic phase. Soon they would start begging. Their military capabilities? He asked. Laughable, Deline replied. They have chemical rockets for space travel. Nuclear weapons for warfare. Their largest warship is smaller than our smallest shuttle. They have no energy shields, no quantum drives, no directed energy weapons. Commander, this species is barely spacefaring. They're centuries behind us technologically. Then why haven't they responded? Tavik wondered aloud. Every other species sent us messages. Offers of negotiation. Promises of resources. Threats they couldn't back up. These humans have said nothing for 2 days. Perhaps they're too primitive to understand the situation, Deline suggested. Or perhaps they've accepted their fate and see no point in delaying. Tavik wasn't convinced. Something felt wrong. In his 300 years of military service, he had conquered 47 species. He knew how prey behaved. Silence was not normal. Silence meant either complete terror or complete confidence, and humans had no reason to be confident. Send scouts into their asteroid belt, he ordered. I want detailed scans of everything. If they're hiding ships or weapons, I want to know. Yes. Commander, Deline acknowledged. Deep below Earth's surface, in a bunker protected by layers of rock and metal, Hyunwoo watched the Vren fleet's movements on his displays. Every ship was tracked. Every weapon was catalogued. Every move was analyzed. They're sending scouts into the belt, his assistant informed him. Let them look, Hyunwoo replied calmly. They won't see anything. The platforms are cloaked at the quantum level. To their sensors, they'll just see rocks and debris. He turned to face the massive chamber behind him. It stretched for kilometers underground, filled with rows of quantum computers processing impossible amounts of data. This was the heart of the Prometheus Initiative, humanity's desperate gamble to survive. 20 years ago, Hyunwoo had been a young physicist studying dark matter. Then the government recruited him for a classified project. They took him to a secret facility beyond Pluto and showed him something that changed his life forever. The Wayfarer ship. It hung in space like a dead metal flower, its hull covered in strange symbols and designs. The species that built it had been dead for millions of years, but their technology remained functional. Inside, Hyunwoo and his team found databases containing knowledge about hundreds of civilizations. History spanning millions of years, technology that seemed like magic, and warnings about the Vren Dominion. The Wayfarers had watched the Vren for thousands of years before going extinct. They documented everything: battle tactics, weapon specifications, strategic weaknesses. It was like finding an instruction manual for defeating an enemy humanity hadn't even met yet. But the technology came with a terrible price. Hyunwoo looked at his hands. They trembled slightly, not from age or fear, but from knowledge. The weapons he had built could destroy planets. The quantum drives could teleport ships through space, ignoring the normal laws of physics. The directed energy weapons manipulated fundamental forces of the universe itself. Humanity had jumped centuries ahead in technology overnight. They had become gods of destruction, and Hyunwoo feared what that power might do to them. Sir, his assistant said, Admiral Jiwon is requesting updated fleet positions. Send her everything, Hyunwoo replied. How many ships do we have in position now? 2,347 vessels. Military cruisers, cargo haulers, mining ships, passenger transports, science vessels. Every ship humanity owns is now armed and ready. The crews have been briefed. They know what's coming. Hyunwoo closed his eyes. 2,000 ships against 300. It sounded like humanity had the advantage. But Vren warships were massive, each one carrying enough firepower to level a continent. The only advantage humanity had was surprise, and the Wayfarer weapons. If the plan failed, if the Vren were stronger than expected, if the ancient technology didn't work as designed, then humanity would be extinct within hours. Any word from Mars? Hyunwoo asked. Governor Minho reports all systems are ready. The planet's surface is secured. Civilians are in deep shelters. The defense grid is active. Minho, the young freighter pilot who had accidentally discovered the truth 6 months ago when his ship's hidden weapon systems activated during a test. Hyunwoo remembered the pilot's face when he learned what his cargo runs had really been about. Shock, anger, then acceptance. Now Minho commanded Mars's orbital defenses, a civilian turned soldier by necessity. Across the solar system, hundreds of thousands of people carried similar secrets. Engineers who built weapons platforms disguised as mining equipment. Scientists who designed quantum drives in hidden laboratories. Soldiers who trained for battles against an enemy no one else knew existed. For 20 years, they had lived with the weight of knowing that humanity's survival depended on their silence. On the Vren flagship, Delenn reviewed the scout reports. Commander, the asteroid belt is clear. We detect no significant threats. Just rock and ice as expected. Some small mining stations, but they're abandoned. The humans fled when we arrived. Tavik studied the data carefully. The asteroid belt looked exactly as his intelligence predicted. Empty, harmless, perfect for the fleet to pass through on their way to Earth. So why did he still feel uneasy? What about their Mars colony? He asked. Population of 50,000 humans. Small industrial settlement. They're not responding to our hails either. Probably hiding in fear like the ones on Earth. Destroy it, Tavik ordered. Deline looked surprised. Sir, we usually wait until the deadline expires before beginning attacks. I want to send Earth a message, Tavik explained. Show them what happens to colonies that ignore us. Maybe it will motivate them to respond. Besides, 50,000 deaths are nothing. Earth has billions. They'll barely notice. As you command, Deline replied, relaying the orders. 10 Vren warships broke away from the main fleet and moved toward Mars. Their weapons powered up, energy building for the bombardment that would turn the red planet's surface into molten glass. On Mars, alarms blared through the underground command center. Vren attack force inbound, the tactical officer announced. 10 warships. They're charging weapons. Minho stood at the command station, his heart pounding. This was it. The moment everything had been building toward. He was a cargo pilot who had spent his life hauling supplies between planets. Now he commanded the defense of an entire world. All personnel to battle stations, he ordered. Activate the defense grid. Prepare to engage on my mark. Around him, the command center burst into activity. Officers ran to their stations. Displays lit up with targeting data. Deep below the Martian surface, weapons that had been hidden for years began to rise. The surface of Mars started to change. Massive hatches opened across thousands of square kilometers. Railgun emplacements emerged from beneath the red dust. Missile silos revealed themselves. Energy weapon platforms unfolded like mechanical flowers blooming in fast motion. Mars wasn't a colony. It was a fortress. Every building, every dome, every structure had been designed with hidden military purposes. The 50,000 colonists were actually military personnel who had spent years preparing for this exact moment. Enemy ships in range, the tactical officer reported. Minho took a deep breath. All weapons fire. The sky above Mars erupted with violence. Railguns launched projectiles at impossible speeds. Missiles streaked upward, trailing fire. Energy beams, bright as small stars, lanced through the darkness. The Vren warships barely had time to react. Their shields absorbed the first hits, but the sheer volume of fire overwhelmed them. One ship exploded, then another. A third lost its engines and began spinning out of control. On the Vren flagship, alarm screamed. Commander! Deline shouted. Mars is firing. They have weapons. Advanced weapons! We're losing ships! Tavik stared at the displays in shock. This wasn't possible. Their intelligence said Mars was a small mining colony, primitive, defenseless, but those weapons, how? He whispered. They're using directed energy technology. Railguns with quantum acceleration. Those are our weapons. No, better than our weapons. How did humans develop this? The answer hit him like a physical blow. The humans hadn't been silent out of fear. They had been silent because they were hiding something. All this time, while the Vren thought they were dealing with primitives, humanity had been preparing. This wasn't going to be a conquest. This was going to be a war, full fleet combat status. Tavik roared. They tricked us. They lured us here. All ships, prepare for battle. The Vren fleet drifted through the asteroid belt, confident and unconcerned. High Commander Tavik had ordered maximum speed toward Earth after the Mars surprise. He wanted to crush this primitive rebellion quickly and demonstrate the price of resistance. Then the asteroid started moving. Commander! Deline's voice was sharp with alarm. Sensors are detecting power signatures, thousands of them. They're everywhere. On every Vren ship's display, the same impossible sight appeared. The asteroids they had scanned as lifeless rocks were now glowing with energy. Weapons platforms materialized out of nothing, as if they had been invisible. Hundreds of human ships decloaked simultaneously, appearing at perfect attack positions around the Vren formation. The fleet had sailed straight into a cage. Tavik realized his mistake instantly. The humans hadn't been hiding. They had been waiting. Every ship, every platform, every weapon had been positioned with mathematical precision. The Vren had walked into the most perfectly designed kill zone in military history. Evasive maneuvers, he roared. All shields to maximum. Return fire. But he was already too late. Admiral Jiwan sat in the command center of the human flagship, a converted colony ship called the Unity. Around her, holographic displays showed the entire battlefield. Every Vren vessel was marked. Every human unit was positioned exactly where she needed it. She had spent 20 years studying Vren tactics from the Wayfarer database. She knew how they fought. She knew their formations, their strategies, their responses to threats. She had planned this battle 1,000 times in simulations. Now it was real. All units, she said calmly into her communication link. Execute primary strike. Show them what humans can do. The asteroid belt exploded into violence. Directed energy beams, weapons that manipulated the fundamental forces of the universe, lanced through space. They didn't just damage Vren shields, they ignored them completely. The beams passed through the energy barriers as if they weren't there and carved through armored hulls like cutting through paper. Railguns fired projectiles accelerated to near-light speed. Each slug carried the energy of a nuclear weapon. They punched through Vren warships, entering through the front and exiting through the back, leaving molten tunnels of destruction. Nuclear charges, carefully positioned throughout the asteroid belt, detonated in sequence. The explosions launched millions of tons of rock at relativistic speeds. The asteroids became missiles, and the Vren ships became targets. In the first 90 seconds of combat, 30 Vren warships were destroyed. Tavik watched his fleet die on the displays. Ships that had conquered planets exploded like toys. Warriors who had never known defeat burned in their command chairs. The humans had turned the entire asteroid belt into a weapon, and his fleet was trapped inside it. "Status!" he demanded, trying to maintain control as his carefully organized formation collapsed into chaos. 47 ships destroyed or disabled, Deline reported, her voice tight with stress. The enemy weapons are cutting through our shields. Our armor is inadequate. Commander, their technology is superior to ours. How is this possible? It doesn't matter how, Tavik snarled. Return fire. Target their platforms, destroy everything. The Vren fleet began fighting back. Their weapons were powerful, built to crack planets and boil oceans. Energy beams struck human platforms, vaporizing them instantly. Missiles found their targets, turning human ships into expanding clouds of debris. But for every human weapon destroyed, there were 10 more firing. The numerical advantage the Vren had enjoyed was meaningless. Humanity had turned their entire solar system into a fortress. Minho piloted his small freighter through the chaos, leading a squadron of converted cargo ships. They looked harmless, like civilian vessels fleeing the battle. That was exactly what the Vren were supposed to think. Enemy cruiser ahead, his co-pilot announced. They're targeting the Unity. Intercept course, Minho ordered. Weapons hot. His freighter, which had hauled supplies for 10 years, suddenly transformed. Hidden panels opened along its hull, revealing advanced weapons systems. The quantum drive engaged, and the ship teleported across thousands of kilometers in an instant, appearing directly behind the Vren cruiser. Fire, Minho said quietly. The freighter's weapons, designed using Wayfarer technology, tore through the Vren ship's engines. The massive warship lost power and began tumbling out of control, unable to target the Unity. Confirmed kill, his co-pilot reported. That's our third today. Minho felt no satisfaction. Every destroyed ship represented hundreds or thousands of Vren crew members dying. He wasn't a soldier. He didn't enjoy killing. But the Vren had come to enslave humanity, and he would do whatever was necessary to stop them. Next target, he ordered. Keep moving. On Earth, President Daehyun watched the battle unfold from the command center. Every explosion, every casualty, every victory and defeat played out on the holographic displays before him. Somin stood beside him, her face pale. 23,000 human casualties so far, she said quietly. 80,000 wounded. And the battle is still going. I know, Daehyun replied. His voice was flat, emotionless, but inside he felt each death like a knife wound. Every person who died was his responsibility. He had ordered this battle. He had chosen silence over negotiation. Was it worth it? Somin asked. All these deaths. Could we have tried talking first? The Vren don't talk, Daehyun said. They conquer. Every species they ever contacted either surrendered or died. There was never a third option. We're not fighting for surrender terms. We're fighting for the right to exist. But what if we're wrong? Somin pressed. What if there was a peaceful solution, and we never tried to find it? Daehyun finally looked at her. Then I'll carry that guilt for the rest of my life. But I'd rather be guilty of choosing war than guilty of surrendering humanity into slavery. At least our children will be free, even if they curse my name. An alarm blared through the command center. "Vren ships breaking through the perimeter," an officer shouted. 30 vessels heading directly for Earth. They're ignoring our attacks and making a suicide run at the planet. Daehyun's blood turned cold. This was the scenario they had feared. If enough Vren ships reached Earth, they could bombard the surface. Billions would die in the first few minutes. "All orbital defenses, engage," he ordered. "G1, redirect forces to intercept." But the Vren ships were moving fast. Too fast. They had abandoned defense completely, and were using all their power for speed. They would reach Earth's atmosphere within minutes. Admiral G1 saw the threat developing. She made a split-second decision that would haunt her forever. "All ships. In Sector 7, she transmitted. Form defensive wall around Earth. Protect the planet at all costs." "Admiral," one of her officers protested, "that sector has our most damaged ships. If they face a full assault, they'll be destroyed." "I know," Ji-won said quietly. "But if those Vren ships reach Earth, billions die. We sacrifice hundreds to save billions. Give the order." 300 human ships already damaged from the earlier fighting moved into Earth's orbit. They formed a wall of metal and determination between the Vren attackers and the planet below. Most of these ships had no weapons left. Many had hull breaches and dying life support systems. But they held their position. The Vren ships smashed into the defensive line like a hammer striking glass. Human vessels exploded. Brave crews died instantly, vaporized by Vren energy weapons. But each sacrifice bought time. Each destroyed ship slowed the Vren advance, and it gave Earth's ground defenses time to activate. Massive railgun emplacements, hidden beneath mountains and oceans, rose to firing position. Missile silos opened across every continent. Energy weapons, smaller versions of the platforms in the asteroid belt, powered up from secret facilities. Earth itself had become a weapon. The defensive fire from the planet was overwhelming. The Vren ships, already damaged from breaking through the orbital line, couldn't withstand it. One by one they fell, burning up in Earth's atmosphere or breaking apart under the assault. None of them reached the surface. But the price had been terrible. 300 human ships destroyed. 45,000 crew members dead. The defensive line had held, but it had been purchased with rivers of blood. On Mars, Minho received new orders. The Vren were trying to disengage, pulling their fleet back toward the edge of the solar system. They wanted to regroup and plan a new strategy. "Don't let them leave," came Admiral Ji-won's voice over the communication link. "If they escape, they'll return with reinforcements. We need to end this now." Minho looked at his tactical display. The Vren fleet was broken, scattered, bleeding. But they were still dangerous. Over 200 warships remained functional, and they were fighting with desperate fury. "All squadrons," he transmitted. "Pursuit course. Stay on them." The human fleet gave chase. Ships that had started the day hauling cargo or carrying passengers now hunted the most powerful military force in the known galaxy. The battle spread. Across millions of kilometers, a running fight through the outer solar system. In the command center, Hyunwoo watched the quantum sensors with growing alarm. "Something's wrong," he muttered. "The Vren fleet movements don't match their tactics. They're not trying to escape. They're positioning for something else." His assistant checked the data. "Sir, they're forming up around their flagship." High Commander Tavik stood on his damaged bridge, surrounded by smoke and sparking equipment. Half his crew was dead. His fleet was shattered. But he still had 215 warships, and he was going to use every single one to make these humans pay. "Concentrate all ships around the flagship," he ordered. "Synchronize weapon systems. Every ship will fire simultaneously at Earth, maximum power. I want that planet cracked in half." War Mistress Deline, her armor scorched and dented, worked at her console. "Commander, if we concentrate like this, we become a single target. The humans will destroy us easily." "It doesn't matter if we all die," Tavik said coldly. As long as Earth dies first, this species has humiliated the Vren Dominion. They've destroyed our warriors with their primitive tricks and stolen technology. If we cannot conquer them, then we'll erase them. At least the galaxy will know that defying us has consequences. The remaining Vren ships moved into formation. Each one powered up its main weapons, building energy for the strike that would doom a planet. It would take 15 minutes to charge the weapons fully. Then Earth would die. President Daehyun watched the Vren formation appear on his displays. The tactical computers calculated the outcome. If those ships fired, Earth's shields and defenses would last approximately 47 seconds. Then the bombardment would begin. Oceans would boil. Continents would shatter. The atmosphere would burn away. 8 billion people would die screaming. Time until Vren weapons are fully charged? He asked. 12 minutes, sir, an officer replied. Time until our dreadnoughts arrive? 8 minutes, Daehyun did the math. The dreadnoughts would reach the battle 4 minutes before the Vren could fire. It would be close. Too close. Soman stood beside him, her hands clasped together. The dreadnoughts, she said quietly. You're really going to use them? I have no choice. Those ships carry planet-killer weapons. Once we use them, we become what we're fighting against. We become conquerors with the power to destroy worlds. Better that than extinct, Daehyun replied. But his voice was hollow. He knew she was right. The dreadnoughts were massive beyond comprehension. Each one had been built from a dwarf planet, hollowed out and converted into a warship over 15 years. They were kilometers across, powered by captured black holes, armed with weapons that bent the laws of physics. Hyunwoo had been aboard the lead dreadnought named Prometheus for the past hour. He stood in the central command chamber, a vast space filled with quantum computers and power systems that glowed with strange colors. Before him was the firing control for the planet-killer weapon. One button, one decision, one chance to save Earth or damn humanity's soul. Dr. Hyunwoo, the ship's captain said, we're approaching firing range. The weapon is charged and ready. We await your authorization. Hyunwoo stared at the control. He had designed this weapon using knowledge from the Wayfarer database. It could fire a beam that would destabilize a planet's core, causing it to tear itself apart from the inside. It was elegant, efficient, and absolutely horrifying. If I press this button, he said quietly, 40% of the Vren fleet dies instantly. Thousands of people, maybe tens of thousands, and I'll be a mass murderer. Sir, the captain said gently, they came to enslave us. They tried to destroy Earth. This is war. War, Hyunwoo repeated. Yes, that's what we tell ourselves to sleep at night. But creating these weapons changed me, changed humanity. We jumped from using rockets to controlling black holes in one generation. We skipped centuries of ethical development, centuries of learning wisdom to match our power. Now we're children playing with weapons that could crack the galaxy in half. His hand hovered over the control. On the Vren flagship, alarms suddenly blared. Commander, Deline shouted. Massive contacts detected. 15 ships approaching from the outer system. They're enormous. Each one is... By the ancestors, they're the size of moons. Tavik's display showed the approaching dreadnoughts. They were beautiful in a terrible way. Dark spheres covered in glowing energy conduits and weapon ports. They moved slowly but with unstoppable momentum like mountains flying through space. What are those? Deline whispered. Dreadnoughts, Tavik said, understanding filling him with cold dread. The humans built dreadnoughts. They didn't just have advanced weapons. They built entire battle planets. Impossible. The resources required, the technology, the time. They had 20 years, Tavik said. 20 years to prepare while we conquered other worlds and ignored them. They used every second. These humans, they planned everything. Every trap, every weapon, every surprise. We never had a chance. We were already defeated the moment we entered their solar system. A transmission came through on all frequencies. President Daehyun's face appeared on every screen, human and Vren alike. Hi, Commander Tavik, Daehyun said, his voice calm but carrying the weight of absolute authority. You came to my solar system. You threatened my people. You tried to enslave humanity. You forced this war upon us. Now you're preparing to destroy my planet out of spite because you're losing. On the Vren flagship, Tavik said nothing. He simply listened. I want you to understand something, Daehyun continued. We knew you were coming. The Wayfarers, an ancient species, left us warnings about you. They told us you would arrive eventually. They gave us the technology to fight you. We've been preparing for this war for 20 years. Tavik's eyes widened. 20 years of preparation. 20 years of humans watching and waiting and building. The surveillance alone? You sent us an ultimatum, Daehyun said. 72 hours to surrender. We used every one of those hours to finish our preparations. The silence you heard wasn't fear. It was focus. We were getting ready. The dreadnoughts moved into formation around the Vren fleet. 15 massive warships, each one capable of destroying planets, surrounded the remaining enemy forces. Those ships behind you carry planet-killer weapons, Daehyun said. My scientist, Dr. Hyunwoo, is aboard the lead vessel. He has authorization to fire. One word from me and your fleet doesn't just die. It gets erased from existence. No escape pods, no survivors, just instant annihilation. Tavik looked at his tactical display. There was no way out. The humans had them completely surrounded. If those dreadnoughts fired, his fleet wouldn't even have time to scatter. But here's what you don't understand about humans, Daehyun continued. We don't want to be monsters. We built these weapons because we had to, because you left us no choice. But using them changes us, makes us into the thing we're fighting against. So I'm going to do something no other species has done to you. Tavik leaned forward, wondering what was coming. I'm going to give you a choice, Daehyun said. Stand down. Power down your weapons. Surrender your fleet. Do that and you and your crews will live. You'll be prisoners, yes. You'll be judged for your crimes. But you'll live. Or refuse and we'll show you what happens when humans stop holding back. Choose now, Commander. You have 60 seconds. The bridge of the Vren flagship fell silent. Every eye turned to Tavik. War Mistress Deline spoke quietly. Commander, if we surrender, we're dishonored. The Dominion will execute us for cowardice. Our families will be shamed. Our names will be erased from history. If we fight, Tavik replied, we all die in the next minute. The Dominion won't care about our honor when we're dead. He looked at his remaining crew, young warriors who had joined expecting glory and conquest. They didn't deserve to die for his pride. How many ships have we lost today? He asked Deline. 85 destroyed. 43 crippled beyond repair. We started with 300. We have 172 functional vessels remaining. Over 40% of his fleet gone. Thousands of warriors dead, all because he had underestimated a species he thought was primitive. Send a message to all ships, Tavik said slowly. Power down weapon systems. Drop shields. Prepare for surrender. Commander, no. Deline protested. We can still fight. We can die gloriously, Tavik interrupted. I've served the Dominion for 300 years. I've won 47 campaigns. I know when a battle is lost. This isn't surrender out of cowardice. This is accepting reality. The humans beat us, completely. They were better prepared, better equipped, and better led. There's no shame in losing to a superior force. He opened a direct channel to Daehyun. President Daehyun of Earth. This is High Commander Tavik of the Vren Dominion. We yield, we surrender our fleet to you. But know this. Today you started a galactic war. The Dominion will not accept this defeat. They'll send more ships. Bigger fleets. They'll come for revenge. Let them come, Daehyun replied. We'll be ready. Tavik powered down his weapons. Around him, the Vren fleet did the same. Shields dropped. Engines cut to minimum power. The massive war fleet that had arrived to conquer Earth now floated helplessly, surrounded by human forces. On the dreadnought Prometheus, Hyunwoo took his hand away from the firing control. He wouldn't need to use it today. He wouldn't need to become a killer of thousands. Relief flooded through him, so intense it made his knees weak. Cancel firing sequence, he told the captain. Secure the weapon. We're going home. On Earth, celebrations erupted spontaneously across the planet. People who had spent 3 days in terror now danced in the streets. Cities that had been evacuated came alive with joy. Humanity had faced extinction and survived. 3 months after the battle, Earth looked different. The orbital stations were being rebuilt. Ships from dozens of alien species now docked at human facilities. The planet that had fought alone now found itself at the center of something unexpected. Hope. President Daehyun stood in the new Galactic Assembly Hall, a massive structure built from salvaged Vren materials and human engineering. Representatives from 47 species filled the chamber, species that had been enslaved by the Vren Dominion for generations. They had come to Earth after hearing about humanity's victory. A Keltor diplomat, her skin blue and covered in bioluminescent patterns, addressed the assembly. The humans did what we could not. They stood against the Dominion and won. Now we must decide. Do we follow their example? Do we fight for our freedom? An elderly Helkari representative, his body mechanical after years of forced labor, spoke next. The Vren are regrouping. Their Supreme Council is gathering a revenge fleet. 1,000 warships. They'll destroy Earth and everyone who supported them. We should stay neutral. We should protect ourselves. There is no neutral, Admiral Jiwan said from her seat beside Daehyun. The Vren will punish every species they think might rebel. Whether you help us or not, you're all targets now. The only question is whether you face them alone or together. Arguments erupted across the chamber. Some species wanted to fight. Others wanted to hide. A few suggested surrendering to the Vren and begging forgiveness. Soman, now Earth's chief diplomatic officer, tried to restore order. Please, everyone. We didn't defeat the Vren just to watch the galaxy tear itself apart in fear. We need unity, not chaos. Unity? A Nomith captain asked bitterly. You humans speak of unity, but you have weapons that can destroy planets. You have dreadnoughts. You have technology that rivals anything in the known galaxy. How do we know you won't become the next Vren? How do we know you won't conquer us? The question hung in the air. Every representative watched Daehyun, waiting for his answer. Before he could speak, Hyunwoo entered the chamber, moving quickly. He looked exhausted, his eyes red from days without sleep. Mr. President, I need to speak with you now. It's urgent. Daehyun called a recess and followed Hyunwoo to a secure room. Soman, Jiwon, and several other officials joined them. What is it? Daehyun asked. Hyunwoo activated a holographic display. It showed a region of space at the galaxy's edge. Remember the energy disturbance we detected after the battle? I've been analyzing it for 3 months. I've also been studying the restricted files in the Wayfarer database, the ones they marked with warnings. The silent ones, Jiwon said quietly. You mentioned them before. The Wayfarers were an ancient species. They explored the galaxy for millions of years. They documented hundreds of civilizations. They watched empires rise and fall. And they discovered something terrifying. Hyunwoo changed the display, showing a dead world. Every 50,000 years something comes from dark space. The regions between galaxies. They appear, they destroy any civilization that's grown too advanced, and then they disappear. Why? Soman asked. The Wayfarers didn't know. They called them silent ones because they never communicate. They simply appear, cleanse the galaxy of advanced technology, and vanish. The Wayfarers themselves were destroyed by them. 50,000 years ago, they were the most advanced species in the galaxy. Then the silent ones came. Within a year, the Wayfarers were extinct. The room fell silent. How long do we have? Daehyun asked. That's the problem, Hyunwoo said. The Wayfarers predicted the silent ones would return in approximately 50,000 years. That's now. And our quantum broadcasts, the ones we used to communicate during the battle, they spread across the galaxy at faster than light speeds. We essentially announced our presence to everyone, including the silent ones. He showed another image, a dead world, its surface melted to glass. This planet is on the edge of known space. It was inhabited until 6 months ago. Population 3 billion. Now it's lifeless. The destruction pattern matches what the Wayfarers recorded about Silent One's attacks. 6 months ago, Jiwon said slowly. That's before we even fought the Vren. They're already here, Hyunwoo confirmed. They've been testing our defenses, destroying isolated worlds to study our responses. My analysis suggests we have maybe 10 months before they launch a full-scale attack. Not just on Earth, on every advanced civilization in the galaxy. Daehyun closed his eyes. They had just survived one existential threat. Now another, even worse, was coming. What do we do? Soman asked. We tell the assembly, Daehyun decided. We tell them everything. We share all our technology, all our knowledge. We build a unified defense, or we all die separately. When the assembly reconvened, Hyunwoo presented his findings. The holographic displays showed dead worlds, ancient warnings, projected timelines of extinction. The chamber erupted in panic. This is impossible, the Helkari representative said. We can't fight something that destroyed the Wayfarers. They were gods compared to us. The Wayfarers fought alone, Daehyun said, standing to address the assembly. Each civilization in their time faced the Silent Ones separately. They were picked off one by one, but we have something they didn't have. We have time. We have warning. And we have each other. What are you suggesting? The Keltor diplomat asked. Total cooperation, Daehyun replied. Every species shares its technology. Every fleet coordinates with every other fleet. We build a galactic defense network. Humanity will contribute everything we have. The quantum drives, the directed energy weapons, even the planet killer systems on our dreadnoughts. We'll share it all. And what do you want in return? The Nometh captain asked suspiciously. Nothing, Daehyun said simply. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to survive. And we can't survive alone. None of us can. You're asking us to trust you, another representative said. To trust a species that appeared from nowhere with weapons more powerful than anything we've seen. Why should we? Salman stood. Because 3 months ago, we could have destroyed the Vren fleet completely. Our planet-killer weapons were charged and ready. But we chose mercy instead. We chose to capture instead of kill. We chose to negotiate instead of dominate. That's who humans are. We'll fight to protect ourselves, but we won't become monsters to do it. A young Keltor engineer stood. I've reviewed the human technology they've already shared. It's real, it works. They're not holding anything back. I propose we accept their offer. Debates raged for hours. Species argued, threatened, pleaded. Some walked out declaring they wanted no part of this alliance. Others stayed, seeing no alternative. Finally, a vote was called. 27 species voted to join what they called the Galactic Defense Initiative. 12 voted against. 8 abstained. It wasn't unanimous, but it was a start. Over the following months, Earth transformed from a single planet into the heart of a galactic project. Human engineers taught Keltor scientists how to build quantum drives. Helkari industrial complexes began manufacturing directed energy weapons. Nometh navigators mapped defensive positions across thousands of star systems. The dreadnoughts, humanity's darkest secret, were opened to inspection. Representatives from allied species examined the planet-killer weapons. Many were horrified. Some demanded they be dismantled. No, Admiral Jiwan said firmly during one heated meeting. These weapons saved Earth, they might save the galaxy. I know they're terrifying. I know what they represent. But until the Silent Ones are defeated, we need every advantage we can get. The Vren became an unexpected factor in all of this. High Commander Tavik, still a prisoner on Earth, requested a meeting with President Daehyun. They met in a secure facility separated by an energy barrier. Your people are in danger, Tavik said without preamble. The Dominion is assembling its revenge fleet. 1,000 warships. They'll arrive within 4 months. We know, Daehyun replied. We've been monitoring their movements. What you don't know is that the Supreme Council has learned about your Silent Ones. They don't believe it. They think it's a human trick to distract them. They're going to attack you anyway, even though an extinction event is coming. Why are you telling me this? Tavik was silent for a long moment. I've served the Dominion my entire life. 300 years of conquest. I believed we were bringing order to the galaxy. Then I met you. You defeated me, but you didn't kill me. You could have erased my fleet, but you chose mercy. You've shown me that strength doesn't require cruelty. He leaned closer to the barrier. I can help you. I can contact moderate factions in the Dominion. Convince them the Silent One's threat is real. Maybe we can split the fleet or at least delay the attack until after the real threat is dealt with. Why would you betray your own people? Daehyun asked. Because they're going to get everyone killed, Tavik replied. The Dominion's pride will doom the galaxy. At least with you, there's a chance for survival. Even for the Vren, Daehyun considered this. What do you want in exchange? Promise that when this is over, if we survive, you'll help rebuild the Dominion into something better. Something that doesn't conquer and enslave. Something that can coexist with other species. I can't promise that, Daehyun said. Your people have committed terrible crimes. There will have to be justice. Justice, yes, Tavik agreed, but not extinction. Promise me you'll give us a chance to change.